How long have you lived in Rowlett, and what's your favorite thing about this community?
Well, my wife and I have lived in Rowlett for a little over 9 years. I've lived in Dallas County for 42 years. And like a lot of people, what I like about Rowlett is that small town feel. And when you look at, surveys and you look at plans that are done, that always comes up. The residents always say what they like about this city is that small town feel. And I think that's so important, in making decisions. To try and maintain that character. There's a lot of challenges there, but that's what I like. That's what I think everybody likes, and the goal is to preserve that.
How has your background, work experience, and/or volunteer service equipped you to serve on city council?
As far as my background, I've been in private industry for my whole career. I spent the last 18 years with the company that I'm getting ready to retire from at the end of this year, and with that company, I've been in a lot of leadership positions. We started off as a privately held $30 million company 18 years ago. We are now approaching almost $1 billion. So I'm used to dealing with big numbers. I'm used to dealing with budgets. I'm used to dealing with forecasts. I'm used to dealing with P&Ls, which the city is a business at a certain point. So having those skills I think is important. As far as my volunteer activities, I've been on the Rowlett Parks Advisory Board I'm in my third year. I'm the vice chairman of that board. And some of the things that I brought to the table here just in that time is last year, if you recall, we had the Texas Arbor Day celebration where we gave away 250 free trees to residents. I secured that donation of trees from Encore. Nice trees. It was a really, really successful event. And and we were able to give those out, for free. So that was nice. You might be looking at social media right now on the city pages and see we're having our first annual sand bass tournament, and that's something I came up with. Every year we see people parked on the side of the road, and you're wondering what's going on, and it's sort of uniquely Rowlett. And people can fish in the creeks. It can be very family friendly, and it doesn't require special equipment, so you don't need a boat or anything. So I'm kind of proud of that, and hopefully I'll be really successful. And then kind of one of the things that got me even into the parks department was the nature trail. I'm a big user of the nature trail. And it was really starting to degrade. Fabric was showing, and I was really, really kind of wanted to do something about that. And so I've been very vocal about that on the Parks Board for a long time. Last Tuesday, construction started and should be completed here at the middle of this month. I've also been on the Community Investment Program Task Force, the CIP Task Force, and what we were charged with doing there is polling the citizens, getting input on what they considered to be the key capital improvement projects. So we had a list of 6 projects to have them rank, and what came out of that was going to be a new justice center, a new animal shelter, and a finishing phase 2 and 3 of Herforth Park. And so all 3 of those issues will be on the May 6th bond election for the citizens to vote on. And I was also on the 2022 Charter Review Commission, where we went through the city charter. Some of it was cleaning up language and getting everything in sync. And some of it was actually making changes to the way things were done. And that will also be on the May 6th ballot.
What are some objectives that you want to accomplish during your term in office?
Some of the objectives that are fairly immediate, one is, and it's been out there quite a bit, is getting full membership in the North Texas Municipal Water District. I think most people are aware that we are not a member city, that we are a customer city, and with that comes some really rather unfair practices. The taker pay plan, where we're paying for water we've never used. We pay an extra right now 5 cents per 5 cents valuation per 1,000 gallons, I guess, and that's going up to 30 cents. So this could be a massive increase. We have a petition in. There's been an active move to continue, to try to get on that board. What we want is a seat at the table. I think that's ultimately what we're looking for. If you rank us as the 13 member cities, we would be number 8. So we're a large user, and I think it's only fair that we do that. Next is something we hear from the citizens all the time: is infrastructure, roads, alleys, sidewalks. Recently, in 2022, there was an extensive, very detailed program put together where they were doing the concrete pavement index. And what that was, basically they went every street, every alley in the entire city, mapped it out, and gave it a CPI score. Currently, that score is sitting at 68, which is just what it sounds like. It's a C. It's not particularly good. And that's been coming down for a number of years. So it's not a static number, it's something that's getting worse. And so that's something that really needs to be addressed. The estimates right now are, if we did $10 million a year for the next 10 years, it would bring us up to a 74, which is still a low, 84 or 74, I'm sorry. Yeah. And so, that's still, not great, but better. So we just need a lot of investment in that. And I think the citizens want that. And, it takes revenue, but that's something we need to do. Another thing that I think people want, and it's not going to be easy, but, we're a lakeside community. I think everybody would like to have more interaction with the lake. Currently, there's a park under that will be getting built, the lakeside of Pecan Grove, which if you go past RCC on Main Street, there'll be a new park down there where those soccer fields are. That's going to have a nice kayak launch, which is really sort of the big amenity there, which will help with that, our kayak paddle trail, and which is becoming increasingly a really popular tourist destination. So, that's exciting, but it's those type of projects we need to do. But I want to be really clear, is we need to do it where we can and not impinge upon property right, people's, property owners' rights. That's a big deal to me, and so that's really important that we do it correctly. I would like to see increased funding for quality of life issues, and specifically, again, trails, parks, those type of things I think are really important, to the citizens, and I really would like to see more money and more focus being put to those. There is going to be a new master parks plan being put together here in the next 12 months. So that'll be exciting to see what comes out of that, but it's due, and so we'll see what happens with that.
What programs would you propose to help deter criminal activity in Rowlett?
First off, I do want to say I've had the opportunity to meet Chief Denning, and also if you haven't seen his interview with the mayor, I would really recommend it. He's just going to be a great asset to our city, and I'm really excited about what's going on. There are a lot of things in place that are being done and that are fairly new programs. Chief Denning has put the new ABLE program, which is sort of more of a proactive policing type program that I think is great. It's going to get the officers out there really engaging with the citizens more, and I think that's really important. I'm very excited about the flock system. For those that aren't aware of it, the flock system it's not only a license plate reader, but it can do some monitoring. For those of you that are maybe a little uncomfortable with privacy rights, data is only kept 30 days, so it's not really Big Brother. I think the benefits of it are just huge, really in proactive crime fighting. So I'm a huge proponent of that. Historically, we've had a little trouble with both hiring and retention of officers. I think some of the things Chief Denning is doing will be a big help to that. We've made a commitment as a city. Right now, we currently have 22 officers that are technically in training. They're in their first year, so they kind of consider that the training period. And we're budgeted for 8 new officers every year for whenever. So there is a plan to continue to get police on the streets, and I think that's important. The police substation in Sapphire Bay will be staffed through that. There are grants for both police and firefighters. We have been taking advantage of the Safer grant, which has allowed us to staff the Sapphire Bay fire station, and basically they give us money to hire new firefighters. The COPS grant is sort of the same thing for police officers. So being able to take advantage of those programs is going to be really helpful. And so, I think that's something that we're going to continue doing. One of the things that I haven't heard a lot of, but I think is going to be increasingly an issue, is the problem of homelessness. I won't say we have a big homeless problem right now, but I think we need to be very proactive about it and understand that we're at the end of the DART line, and it's kind of easy for people to come from a lot of areas and come here. I mean, we're a generous community, and I think it's a pretty good place for some types of people to come here. And I just think that we need to address those issues carefully right now.
What key areas of infrastructure in Rowlett do you believe need immediate attention, and how would you propose those be addressed?
As I sort of mentioned earlier, I think everybody agrees that streets, alleys, and sidewalks is our most pressing need. I mean, without a doubt, that has to continue to be funded. I sort of talked about, the PCI index, which that was a great exercise. I think in the past we've sort of, I don't want to say winged it, but it's been more estimate. Now we have hard metrics on what our situation is. And again, it's not good. We're going to need more funding, $10 million a year just to stay even or get a little better. There are currently and have been issuing about $7 million in revenue bonds to be used for infrastructure, which is something that I support. I think that we just have to continue investing in it, particularly as our population continues to grow. I think a lot of us, we don't want to become a mega city, but at the same time, we are a growing city, and the infrastructure needs are going to have to keep up with the population. Some specific projects that I would like to, that are ongoing or in discussion. One is obviously the Miller Bridge, widening the Miller Bridge. The issue there is there's a lot of stakeholders. It's not a city or Rowlett. We can magically make something happen. A lot of stakeholders are fairly complicated, but that's something we need to keep working on. Is the widening of Miller Street Bridge, and then some more specific other projects. Also, just the Merritt Road connector that has been proposed. That's something that we need. And then generally, we just need to prepare ourselves. We're feeling congestion now. There's going to be things that are going to be done. Traffic patterns are going to have to change. Lanes may need to be added, those type of things. So altogether, we need to really address these. Again, as a growing city, we need to address some of these issues that are going to be coming about because of increased population as they relate specifically to traffic congestion.
If given the opportunity, what changes would you recommend be made to Rowlett's comprehensive plan?
The comprehensive plan, if you haven't read it, it was originally put together in 2011, and then the finalized document came out in 2015, and it's been as realized Rowlett 2020. We're now in 2023. The fact is, it just needs to be updated. It's a very robust plan, and it addresses a lot of stuff, and I think it addresses it very well. One of the issues with it, in the original document, there were 5 key objectives. 2 of those are already finished. One of them was the Signature Gateway, and then the other one was the development there at the corner of Chisa and Miller. So, it's time to update that. I believe that the original plan was to update that every 5 years. I think we're a little bit beyond that. So there's a very good start for it. But again, we're, in the past, whatever it's been, 8-9 years since the original document, and even a few years since the last iteration of the updates. It just needs to be dusted off and looked at in the light of what our needs are, things, what has changed with the city, and really, redo that plan, update that plan, make it more of a living document.
What items of consideration would you give to a zoning case that comes before the council?
When we're talking about zoning, I think first thing we need to do is kind of understand how we zone right now. Rowlett uses actually two different methodologies for zoning. Just the traditional zoning, which is how many parking spots and how high, that type of thing. And then also form-based zoning, which more is zoning with the external environment involved, what fits where and helps the fabric of the city. There's an initiative in place right now called Rezoning Rowlett or Rezone Rowlett. It's being undertaken now to go before P&Z. I think the plan is to have it completed by spring of 2024. So that's going to be marrying the two different approaches and maybe make a little more unified approach to how we handle zoning. Some particular things that I would like to see. I think that, I don't know that it's a huge problem now, but it's going to increasingly be a problem, and I've heard about it, is looking at zoning for short-term rentals. I think we're looking to other cities for some guidance on what they're doing. It's kind of something you have to be careful about. Again, people own these properties; they have rights to do certain things with them. At the same time, we want to protect the fabric of the community, and so I think that's an important one. Also, with zoning are again, these issues of infrastructure. And again, particularly traffic congestion and drainage. And those relate really specifically to new projects that would be coming on. As we look at new projects, those are really going to have to be taken into consideration and make sure that we're not creating problems. The other thing that I really want to see within zoning is one of the kind of challenging areas is when we have companies coming before the board for rezoning. And to make sure, I think the current city council, I think, has done a really good job of addressing these rezoning cases and being pretty proactive in what they want, to be done. And I think we need to continue that. I think it's fair for people to come in and ask for rezoning, but I also think it's fair to ask hard questions. And if the answer is no, just tell them, go back to the drawing board. I don't think we want to get a reputation as being a city that's just completely impossible to deal with. But at the same time, again, I think it's so important that we protect the fabric of our city, and planning and zoning is one of the key ways we have to do that.
What types of economic development incentives do you believe are right for Rowlett?
Trying to get development that is what we call quality development. We want development that will add to our tax base. We want developments that will employ people. We want developments that are, as much as they can be, commercial but low impact upon the fabric of the city. So those are the kind of developments we want, kind of developments everyone wants, I think. And we have some incentives in plan. We have the TIRZ program, TIRZ, which is basically a tax incentive that we can do with large areas. For example, the North Shore project is TIRZ 4. And so that's part of that plan development to stimulate that without completely just giving away the farm. So we have programs already in place to incentivize people, but I think it's important that again, we just don't give everything away, and mortgage our future. I mean, these, the development and the planning and all these things that are being done right now, we're approaching build out, and we've got to get it right. The decisions that are made in the next 5-10 years, we're going to be living with for 50 years. I think our current economic development advisory board is really doing a good job. I've sat in on some of their meetings. And they have a plan. They're actively trying to promote the right kind of development. A couple of really positive things that have happened very recently. They recently brought in an outside consultant to talk specifically about downtown. How do we revitalize downtown, or even going further than that, how do we make that a destination? We've just hired a new downtown city manager. That's what she will be tasked with, is putting together a comprehensive plan. Let's start seeing things happening downtown. There's the large type of programs, again, like North Shore, that are going to be critical for our financial success. And then I think they're on a different level. We have things like downtown that are going to be critical for our quality of life success. And so I think melding all those together is going to be really important. And I do think there's good plans in place to do that. And everybody's taking it very seriously. So, I think we're on the right track.
What types of development do you foresee for Rowlett's remaining land?
My vision for Rowlett, and again, it comes back to I think what everybody wants, is how do we grow? How do we become a successful city and maintain this fabric of this small town feel that we all like? So, we start looking at, I start looking at, what fits that vision. Things like greater engagement with the lake. We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. How do we get more access, engagement with the lake as a lakeside city? I think that's important. Increase green space, parks, trails. I think those type of things are incredibly important. Balancing my vision of balancing this growth that we have to have. We have to have the revenue. We cannot put the entire tax burden upon residential homeowners. It's just too much to be what we want to be. To get those things that we want and deserve. So it's that balance. And so any vision that I have and anything I look at, I look through that lens. Sapphire Bay, that is a transformative project. I don't think any of us truly can grasp the scope of what that's going to mean to this city. So it's huge. But as that develops, transformative project. How do we incorporate that? As where it's part of Rowlett. I think that's really important. North Shore is going to be very important. For a lot of reasons we've discussed. And so again, balancing the right kind of quality companies, fitting within the feel and the needs of the citizens of Rowlett, I think is really important. One thing that always comes up in discussions as you're talking about vision and going forward has been multifamily units. And I don't think, me personally, I'm not against multifamily units, and I'm not against development. It has to be the right kind. It has to be in the right places. It has to be done correctly. I think most of us would say that there has maybe been an overbuilding of apartments from some earlier councils and decisions that were made. The current situation is that there are really no apartment permits on the books right now, and because of new changes in how we're handling those, apartments require now a special use permit. So even if they've got the zoning for it, they still have to come before council and get everything approved. So I think that's being addressed. I thought it was interesting. We talk about it and everybody thinks, we have so many apartments. If you look at the number of units of single family homes versus apartments, we are 94% single family homes, 6% multi-family homes, and that includes other things. That includes townhomes and mobile homes and other things, not necessarily just apartments. So I don't think we're in a situation where we're just overwhelmed with it, but it is something that I know is on everybody's mind, and want to make sure that we handle those type of things very cautiously and very carefully.
Rowlett has significant facilities needs across many of its departments. How do you prioritize the facilities needs that exist, and why?
I've been fortunate that I've been able to be on a couple of different tours of all the facilities of the cities, and I'm talking, police and courts, fire, the firehouse or fire headquarters, animal shelter. So I've seen it all, and everybody is busting at the seams. We're not a city of 20,000 people anymore. We're a city of 70,000 people, and it just requires a lot more people and resources to run a city like Rowlett. And we've just outgrown these facilities. It's come to the point, it's not just a wish, it's just kind of a have to. As part of the CIP task force, again, we went before the citizens and polled them on, what's important to you? What do you want? We gave them 6 different things. It was public works, the Justice Center, new city hall, animal shelter, library, parks maintenance, and then Hereford's Park 2 and 3. And what they came back to us was for the bond is the Justice Center and the animal shelter as new construction, and then the Hereford Park 2 and 3, which it's up to the citizens to decide what they want to do. I think it's so critical. We're right now in phase one. We need to continue. It's delaying it is just going to increase cost and just make it, not what we want it to be. So, so I'm really hopeful that, that passes. Running some numbers on it, if you were to do the entire bond right now, it comes out to all bond issues all put together right now, it comes out to right at $75 million. That's 1.3 cents per $100 of valuation. On the cost to the citizens. So if you break that down, that would be on a $250,000 home. That would be $243 a year increase. So, that's 20, everybody likes to break it down into Starbucks. That's $20 a month. That's 5 grande lattes, right? So, I think it's worth it to the citizens. But again, it's the citizens' call. But the needs are real. These are not vanity projects or things that are just being thrown out there so we can say, oh, look at our new building. The needs are real. And they actually relate specifically with the Justice Center, for example, with recruitment and with keeping officers here. Nobody wants to share lockers. Nobody wants to be in a crammed, obsolete space. So it goes beyond just having room. It goes to, actually performance of people who are working within the city.
Are there any departments, programs, or functions that the city does not currently have, which you feel would add a level of service and improve quality of life for residents?
I think we do a good job right now of, in governance. One thing I would like to see maybe an increased focus on, and maybe it would be I don't know if it's a new department or a function of maybe the Parks Department, but I do think that I think we would be well served if we came out with more specific, good programs that address our young adult population. And outside of the just Rowlett Community Center, things that can engage them, whether and I don't know exactly what that looks like, but that's something that I would like to see to be a specific, maybe a specific office, or have somebody really managing that and kind of bringing ideas forward and how we can address their needs. Specifically, keep them engaged in the city. Build a certain amount of ownership in the city. I think that would be very valuable.
Are there any departments, programs, or functions that the city currently has, which you view as unnecessary or extraneous?
As far as any, I would say, as far as any things that are extemporaneous, or I don't think we're over-regulated. I don't think we're over-governed. I don't think we have a glut of offices. So, there's nothing that jumps out to me right now that I say, oh, this is just fat in the budget. I think we're pretty lean and mean right now, and there's nothing right now that I would cut out.
Taking into account the cost of any proposals you've already mentioned, what ideas do you have to help lessen the tax burden on residents and commercial entities in the city?
And when talking about taxes, I think it's important to understand exactly where we are. If you take 32 of the representative cities in the Metroplex, we sit at about number 24. We sit at number 24 in having the highest taxes. So we're in that upper 30 percentile at the bottom of it, but still, we're not at the very low end of it. Having said that, we have seen tax decreases for the last of the 7 years, and in 2023, a very significant tax decrease of 6.1 cents. I mean, that is a large tax increase. The other side of that is we've seen huge increases on our home valuations. So, our taxes go, our tax rate goes down, but our taxes are still increasing. It's always the balancing act. We have needs, we have wants, we have things, again, infrastructure that we have to be able to finance. If you look at just the general fund right now, 76% of the general fund is funded by taxes, and 60% of that is just property taxes. So people, property owners in Rowlett are shouldering quite a lot of burden on that. There's one idea that I'm kicking around, and it's not formed out, and it would have to be really vetted. But our homestead tax is currently a flat $5,000 homestead tax or 1% of valuation. So we've seen 30% increases in our property values in the last 3 years. So our tax exemption is not even proportionally what it was. I'm proposing, or at least would look into something like maybe raising that to $6,000 as a flat fee, which would roughly be a 17% increase. So that would change the other rate to 1.17%. A lot of thinking has to go into that. Rowlett, and I think rightfully so, we're a fairly conservative city and fiscally conservative, which I think serves us well. We look, what's coming up in the future. There's always these recessionary fears. And then what does that do? We give everybody an increased tax exemption, and then all of a sudden property values start falling. So it's that balance, and it's really so important to I wish we could just wave a magic wand and we're all paying 4 cents. That's just not realistic. But I do think there are ways to mitigate it. Again, I think being very proactive with adjusting the tax rate down when it's appropriate is a great strategy. But I also think it's a very important strategy to look 3-5 years down the road and at least have a plan for what if. And I think we're currently doing that, and it's certainly something that I would continue to promote.
Please share your financial background and elaborate on your qualifications to oversee the city's $100 million plus annual budget.
Like I sort of talked about in my introduction, I've come from the private sector and have been in private industry for 42 years, and most of that time in leadership roles. And in most of those leadership roles, what I've dealt with are budgets, I've dealt with forecasts, I've dealt with P&L statements, which, again, if we really look at the city operates somewhat as a business. Our citizens are our customers. Our revenues are the money we have to spend, and our services are our product. And so, understanding that and being able to treat the city like, run the city like a business with fiscal responsibility. I've dealt with, large companies. Again, our company is approaching $1 billion now. I was with them when they were a much, much smaller company. So, having gone through that growth, having been part of that financial analysis, having part of the forecasting, understanding, what numbers mean and where they come from. Nothing exists in a vacuum. And so it's important that, you do research. And I think that that's one thing I really bring to the table is, I'm meticulous, I think, about doing research. I don't just make things up. I don't just go by gut feeling or seat of the pants. I want to know, what does it cost? How are we going to pay for it? Who's paying for it? What do we get out of it? And so it's that sort of mindset that I think I bring, would if elected, bring to the council. And I think that's a good experience to have.
What vision do you have for the future of Rowlett? How would you ensure that vision is implemented long-term?
I've talked about that several times, but again, my vision is for Rowlett to maintain that small town feel, at the same time being able to balance finance, be able to balance development, being able to improve infrastructure, all those things. But I think it's just critical. I think that's what gives that Rowlett its character, and any decisions that are made, I think they have to be looked through that prism. When I look at, being on council or being involved in government, never losing sight of who's in charge, and that's the residents and citizens of Rowlett. I have ideas, I have things that, I'd like to throw out there, but at the end of the day, it's the citizens that drive the bus, and as a council member, you have to be answerable to them. And so, decisions that I would make short-term, long-term would always be with that in mind. Whether it's 10 years from now, 20 years from now, again, we're approaching build out. We will be built out, to a large extent within probably the next 5 to 8 years. And so it's really important to get it right. I keep saying that, but we've got to get this right. I think maybe we've made a few mistakes in the past that, it's too late to do anything about them now. But as we look to the future, as we look to making those decisions, to having a real path forward, and to understand what is important to us and what's important to our city and what do we want to be. And I think as long as we look to the future with that sort of vision, I think we'll be okay.
Please share any closing comments with our viewers.
In closing, and what I bring to the would bring to the council, what I bring to the citizens, one is a clear vision, I think, of what the future is. I'm focused on serving the citizens of Rowlett. Again, never losing sight of who's in charge. I'm retiring at the end of the year. City council is 2 meetings a month, but I'm learning quickly it's a much bigger job than that, and it requires a commitment of time and energy to do that. And I have that time and energy to really give of myself, to serve the city. Quite honestly, I think I would be a good city councilman. I think I have the skill set necessary to come forward and work for the citizens of Rowlett. We have currently a rule in place where you can serve 2 terms and you have to sit 1 out. I think it's important to have new people on council. I think new people. I think the current council is sort of an example of that. We have some first-time members, and they bring in energy, and they're bringing new ideas, and they're just bringing a new way of doing things. And I think by having new members, which I would be a new member, that's important. I think there's a lot of benefit in doing that. That's sort of the way that I look at it, and what I have to offer. As far as my contact, if I can, I would make it easy so nobody has to try and listen to me or write things down. But here is my contact information, and I am truly available 24/7. I'm easy to contact. I answer emails back. So, if you want to get in touch with me, if you have specific questions, my website, I go into a lot of detail on my platform and kind of my history and background. So if you want to learn more about me, I encourage you to look there. You'll start seeing I started putting out my signs, so you'll be seeing my signs around town, and hopefully, you'll give me strong consideration and look for me on May 6th on the ballot and elect me to City Council.